Welcome to DadPod, a community for dads and men.
You gotta love them boys. I'm hanging with my boys. Just me and my boys.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to DadPod, a community for dads and men. Welcome to the first episode, guys. I'm excited to record this and get this off the ground. This has been something that's been in the works for a couple years now in terms of an idea. And so on this first episode, we're going to cover a couple things. First is the background on how and why this came to be. And then second, we're going to talk about the reasons, again, why I got into it. So to begin, I was thinking about, this was a couple years ago now. I really started to think about what I was extremely passionate about, and to have a way to have a creative way to sort of journal and have a creative way to give back to the community. And so I boiled my passions down to a couple things. The very first one is relationships, family, and fatherhood, really. And the second is lifelong learning. Those are the two things I think that I'm the most passionate about in my life. And so when I thought about that, I said, I can make something about fatherhood. And especially with all the recent things going on with masculinity and fatherhood, these things have been on my mind very much over the past 5 years or so. And so, I brought this idea up with my dad and my brother about having a fatherhood and a masculinity podcast kind of centered around those ideas. And so I brought this up to them, and, my brother, without being very quick-witted as he is, he's like, "Oh, DadPod," because we were talking about names, and I laughed. I'm like, "Hey, that's a great one." And I figured I'd have to start it just because of the name. But I started, I was reading these books, again, going back to to that time period. I was reading these books from Brandon Sanderson, who's a famous fantasy writer. And I had gotten into his books at the time, and I really, really enjoyed them. And his first book, part of this, it's called The Stormlight Archive, and it's called The Way of Kings. And it talks about how a good king should be and how he should act, what types of things he should do. And it talks about being honest and being a good person, and what traits that person should reflect. And so I was inspired by that and thought, why don't we have that sort of thing for dads? And that's those sort of resources. So with that, over the last couple of years, I've been coming up with ideas and things to write down, what things to talk about, content, things that I could share in almost my sort of the way of kings, or, the way of dads. And so reason number one that I wanted to start this, and the reason why it was on my mind so heavily at the time, is that men in today's world, there's a couple things going on there, a lot of things going on around that. There are very few resources, I feel like, for men to go to when they have questions about anything about fatherhood, how to treat their, whatever age of kids that they have, how should a father be? How does a career work-life balance happen? And, where can I go to have people who've experienced this? And, where can I ask those questions? So just the resources on that alone, I don't feel like are quite as vast as they are for women these days. Women have a lot of, I've seen my wife go to communities where they talk about, after, life after a child giving birth, and how to adapt their bodies, and breastfeeding, and, all the things that are difficult. I feel like they have at least some resources in it. For men, I don't feel like that's a thing. and maybe because we normally don't spend as much time with our kids as the women do, at least for my wife here in Utah. Alongside of that, there's the resources part, but really the other thing that gets me too is there's been a huge attack in my mind from society on the family, and not just the family unit, but the man specifically of the household, and trying to make men obsolete and launching this full-fledged attack. And we see it from statistics over and over again on how crime rates increase, and how the disintegration of the family happens because when the man is not firmly established in the home. And so, we see suicide rates are up. We see, criminality rates just skyrocket. And so I wanted to attack it. Well, I guess attack's not the right word, but to address those issues and learn from experiences from men in the community, and how their experiences as a father and as a man shaped who they are today. And through that, we would be able to combat against the culture of attacking men and masculinity and toxic masculinity. We'll talk about those things. There are toxic traits, obviously. I'm not going to sit here and say that all men are perfect and we, have perfect traits, but I do know that those terms of toxic masculinity get thrown around way too often and put men in a bad light, and I'm here to defend that. So that's the main reason. And then there's a second reason to kind of get into that, which is, more selfish reasons of me wanting to be able to improve myself and become a better father and a better man and learn from the men that surround me. And because truly, I think the greatest thing that I have been able to, it's not, you don't necessarily achieve fatherhood, but the greatest blessing for me has been becoming a father and kind of getting that bigger picture. And I want other men in my community and in those who may see this to reflect, to do some self-reflection and to ponder what matters most, which is the relationships that you build with your kids, with your wife, and with each other. And so again, all of that is creating a community for dads and men, and to become a better person at the end of the day. My dad, we've been coming up with things that we want to say at the end of the podcast to kind of as like our call to action, and something that he said is live your legacy, right? We're each building our legacy every day. And this is the point for me, is to hold me accountable to be a better person. And so that is one of the biggest reasons that I started this too, is again, just because I want to journal our journey and document it for those, for my kids and for those in the community, and do some good in this world, which desperately needs it. I'm so excited to bring this along, and to share the stories of other men and other fathers of all kinds of backgrounds and situations. We're going to talk about how they balance their careers. So we're going to get men of all backgrounds, in all industries of careers. We're going to talk about men at different stages of their fathering experience, right? Young dads of, kids in elementary school, in high school, in middle school, in college, and beyond, becoming grandparents. I want to talk about all of those things. And then I want to hear their passion for their kids. And I want the world to feel the positivity around becoming a father. There's a lot of jokes of going around and saying, oh, kids are, the hardest, or they're the worst. There'll be jokes that go around like that. And I think everyone knows everyone knows that people feel that kids are the best, but I want everyone who's kind of questioning whether they should have kids to hear from their dads what a blessing their kids are and how happy it has made them. Because I know for me, it's been the greatest blessing of my life. And so I want to hear those dads brag about their kids and hear about their experiences being a man in today's world and being a father, and what sort of traditions they like to have, and things that they do to interact with their kids in different careers. So again, this is the documentation. This is the journey, and I want to hear everyone's experiences with it. And I'm excited to bring that to you on this documented journey. This is our journey, guys. We have this life to improve ourselves and to interact with our kids. And that time goes by so fast. And I want everyone whoever sees this to take from this that is the greatest blessing, and that they should focus on their relationships with their family and the ones that they hold dear, because those times come and they go so fast. Anyway, I'm so excited to bring it to you guys. I hope you listen in, and I would welcome any feedback. And we'll only get better from here. Hopefully, this will be entertaining, and I can not cry so much whenever I talk about my kids and my family. I tend to get very emotional, so bear with me. But I'm excited to bring this to you guys. And I hope you tune in and leave your comments and join the community, because we desperately need your help as men to gather together and combat what's going on in society. So I'm excited to bring it to you guys. Tune in next time.